The champagne hadn't even been poured when my sister's voice cut through the rehearsal dinner. A waiter? Really, Emma? She laughed, loud enough for the entire table to hear. You're marrying a waiter, my fiancé. Marcus squeezed my hand under the table, his face calm. None of them knew he was sitting in a restaurant he owned, one of 47 across 3 countries. And what happened at the wedding would teach her exactly what broke really meant. Before I tell you how it all unfolded, take a second to like this video, subscribe, and comment where you're listening from. And if you've ever been underestimated by your own family, share your story below. My name is Emma Clark, and for most of my life, I learned to take up just enough space to avoid conflict. Not invisible, just careful. I'm a high school English teacher, the kind who stays late to help struggling students, who brings extra pencils and listens when no one else will. It's steady work, meaningful work, but it's never been the kind that impresses my family. My older sister, Victoria, built her life differently. She married a corporate lawyer named Brendan when she was 25. Big house, bigger car, vacation photos that looked like magazine spreads. Every family gathering became a showcase for her latest acquisition. Her remodeled kitchen, her son's private school tuition, the wine she'd brought back from Bordeaux. My parents ate it up. They'd nod and smile, asking questions that made her glow. When I spoke, the attention drifted. My classroom stories didn't sparkle the way her charity galas did. My small apartment didn't photograph well next to her marble countertops. Over time, I stopped trying to compete. I just showed up, smiled, and let the conversations flow around me. That changed the day I met Marcus. I was grading essays at a small Italian restaurant near my apartment, the kind of place with mismatched chairs and handwritten menus. The owner, an older man named Vincent, always gave me a corner table and didn't rush me when I nursed a single glass of wine for 2 hours. That night, a different server approached my table. Tall, dark hair, an easy smile that didn't feel rehearsed. Mind if I top off your water? He asked. I glanced up, startled. Oh, sure, thanks. He refilled my glass, then noticed the stack of essays. Rough night? I laughed. Comparative analysis of Romeo and Juliet. 10th graders. Ah, he said, nodding seriously. The age when every feeling is the end of the world. Exactly. We talked for 20 minutes. He didn't hover, didn't interrupt my work, just checked in between his other tables. When I left, he walked me to the door and asked if he could see me again. Not for a date at first, just coffee. I said yes. Over the next few months, I learned Marcus had worked in restaurants since he was 16. He talked about the rhythm of a kitchen, the way a good service felt like a symphony. He knew wine regions, knife techniques, the exact temperature for perfect risotto. He was passionate, thoughtful, and he listened to me the way Vincent listened to his customers, like every word mattered. I didn't ask about money. It didn't occur to me to care. He lived simply, drove an older car, wore jeans that had seen better days. When we went out, we chose places for the food, not the price tag. It felt real in a way nothing in my family ever had. When I told my parents I was dating someone, my mother asked the usual questions. What does he do? Where did he go to school? I told her he worked in restaurants. She paused, then offered a tight smile. Well, as long as you're happy. Victoria's reaction was sharper. We were at Sunday brunch when I mentioned Marcus. She set down her mimosa and tilted her head. Wait, he's a server? He works in restaurants, yes. Emma, she sighed, the way you'd sigh at a child who refused to wear a coat in winter. You have a master's degree. So? So you could do better? I didn't respond. Brendan changed the subject and the meal continued. But I felt the judgment settle over me like a fine dust, invisible but present. When Marcus proposed 6 months later, he did it at Vincent's restaurant, the place we'd met. Simple, perfect, exactly us. The ring was understated, a single stone on a delicate band. I cried. He laughed. Vincent brought out champagne and toasted us in Italian. I called my parents the next morning. My mother's first question was about the ring. My father asked if Marcus had prospects. I told them we were happy, and the conversation moved on quickly. Planning the wedding became a test I hadn't signed up for. My mother wanted opinions on every detail, but her enthusiasm only sparked when she talked about what Victoria's wedding had included. The venue, the 4-tier cake. I tried to explain that Marcus and I wanted something smaller, more intimate. She nodded, but I could see the disappointment. Victoria inserted herself without invitation. She'd offer suggestions, then sigh when I didn't take them. You only get one wedding, Emma. Don't you want it to be special? It will be special, I said, because it's ours. She rolled her eyes. The rehearsal dinner was held at a restaurant Marcus had chosen. He'd been vague about why this particular place, only saying it was meaningful to him. When I arrived, I understood. The space was beautiful, warm wood, soft lighting, tables set with care, the kind of place that felt expensive without being showy. My family arrived late. Victoria swept in wearing something too formal for the occasion, Brendan trailing behind her. My parents followed, looking around with polite curiosity. We gathered at a long table near the back, close to the kitchen. That's when it started. Victoria scanned the menu, eyebrows raised. This place is pricey. It's covered, I said quietly. By who? She looked at Marcus. You? He smiled. Yes. She laughed. Not the polite kind. The kind meant to sting. A waiter paying for a rehearsal dinner here? Emma, are you putting this on a credit card? My mother shifted uncomfortably. My father cleared his throat but said nothing. We're fine, Victoria, I said. I'm just saying, she continued, her voice carrying across the table. Maybe you two should be more realistic. I mean, a waiter? Really, Emma? Marcus's hand found mine under the table. His grip was steady, calm. He didn't flinch. He didn't defend himself. He just sat there, patient, like he'd heard this before and knew it didn't matter. Brendan tried to redirect. The food looks great. But Victoria wasn't finished. She leaned back, swirling her wine. I hope you're not expecting us to help when things get tight. Brendan and I have our own expenses. I felt my chest tighten, but I didn't respond. I couldn't, not without breaking. The meal continued in strained silence. Servers brought course after course, each one more beautiful than the last. The food was exquisite, the kind that made you slow down and pay attention. My father, at least, seemed to appreciate it. Victoria picked at her plate, making small comments about portion sizes. When dessert arrived, the executive chef stepped out of the kitchen. A woman in her 50s, composed and confident. She approached our table with a warm smile. Good evening, everyone, she said. I wanted to personally thank you for celebrating here tonight. It's an honor to host Marcus's family. Victoria blinked. You know him? The chef's smile didn't waver. Of course. He hired me 8 years ago. The table went still. I'm sorry? My mother said softly. The chef glanced at Marcus, who nodded slightly. She turned back to the table. Marcus owns this restaurant, along with 46 others across the US, Canada, and Italy. The silence that followed was so complete. I could hear the kitchen doors swinging in the distance. Victoria's face drained of color. Brendan stared at his plate. My father's mouth opened, then closed. My mother looked at me, then at Marcus, confusion flickering across her face. You're the owner? My father finally managed. Yes, sir, Marcus said, his voice even. I've been building the company for about 12 years now. Started as a line cook, worked my way up. Bought my first place when I was 24. It grew from there. But you said you worked in restaurants, my mother whispered. I do, Marcus replied. I spend time in the kitchens, training staff, developing menus. I don't lead from a boardroom. I lead from the floor. Victoria finally found her voice. Why didn't you say anything? Marcus looked at her directly, no malice, just clarity. Because I wanted to know who would respect me for who I am, not what I own. And tonight answered that question. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. The chef excused herself. Dessert was served. No one touched it. I felt Marcus's thumb trace circles on the back of my hand. He wasn't gloating. He wasn't angry. He was just done pretending. After a long, uncomfortable silence, my father spoke. I owe you an apology. Marcus shook his head. You don't owe me anything. But Emma deserves better than being doubted for choosing someone who makes her happy. My mother's eyes filled. We didn't mean... You did, I said quietly. You always have. No one argued. The next day, the wedding proceeded exactly as we'd planned. Small, intimate, honest. Victoria arrived late, subdued, her earlier confidence nowhere to be found. She didn't make a speech. She didn't offer toasts. She sat near the back and left before the cake was cut. My parents stayed. They were quieter than usual, but they stayed. And when my father pulled me aside before the reception ended, he held my hand and said, I'm sorry, Emma, truly. I nodded. It wasn't forgiveness yet. But it was a start. Marcus and I honeymooned in Italy, visiting the 3 locations he'd opened there. We ate in kitchens, talked with chefs, walked through cobblestone streets without a schedule. It was the freest I'd ever felt. When we returned, Victoria sent a text. Short, formal. I'm sorry for what I said. I was wrong. I didn't respond immediately. Not out of spite, but because I needed time to decide what I wanted from her. Eventually, I wrote back, "Thank you. Let's talk when you're ready to listen." She never replied, and that told me everything I needed to know. Months later, I ran into an old family friend at the grocery store. She smiled and said, "I heard your husband owns that restaurant chain. Your sister must be so embarrassed." I thought about it. Then I said, I hope she learned something. Because that's what mattered. Not the money, not the empire, not even the vindication. What mattered was that I'd chosen someone who saw me, who valued me, who didn't need me to shrink so he could shine. And in the end, the only opinion that mattered was my own. If you've ever been underestimated, if you've ever chosen love over status, or if you've ever had to set boundaries with people who should have known better, I hope this story reminds you that your worth isn't determined by anyone's approval, not even family. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from. And if this resonated, subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Because quiet strength always wins in the end.